Hello, we are live, y'all. We're live.
Hi.
Welcome to 15 Minutes of Murder, our weekly Wednesday night live edition. I am your host, Tanisha Slater, along with Craig Chapman and our resident crime expert,
That's
below
me,
or over
present
the right.
Desiree Edwards.
Yeah.
I
You've
gotta
been very
turn
busy. You've been
my
very busy. But
reader off.
there's some stuff going on this week, people. There's some stuff in the news. Right?
Hard
There's some stuff in the
news.
news. We'll catch up real quick with some of that stuff. But basically, welcome to Wednesday Night Live. We just kind of talk about whatever's current in the world of crime, give updates. I know we've been talking recently about, updates here and there on the Nancy Guthrie situation, on Scott Peterson. And we all know like the LA Innocence Project has been trying to help him overturn his situation, and they present some evidence. And I guess the judge denied some of the evidence, which you said was the
Yep.
van.
So yeah, so the judge did a partial denial, partial approval. And for me, from the perspective of a criminal defense investigator, I feel that this is still a win for Scott Peterson. But we'll talk about all of that once we finish up the introductions and all of that jazz.
All right, yeah. So he shouldn't be discouraged then, I guess. Um,
Yeah, if you're rooting
yes.
for Scott Peterson, woo!
Ooh.
Hmm.
But if you think Scott's still a jerk, whether he did it or not,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is what it is. It is what it is. But if you
Mhm.
didn't do it, you didn't do it. You're allowed to be a jerk, and you know,
Yep.
it is what it is. But then also in the Nancy Guthrie case, Cash Patel made a statement about how the sheriff and Pima County Sheriff did not involve the FBI for 4 days. And actually sent that initial first 48 hours of evidence collected to a private lab in Florida, when Cash Patel is like, well, maybe you should have sent it to Quantico, where we have like, all of the capabilities to do things at a much faster rate than any private location down in Florida.
So
Uh,
just tell me when you're ready for me to start running my mouth.
Go.
Go. That's what I be talking about. See what I'm saying?
Mhm. We were just talking
See,
about that last week and
we,
every week,
we
matter of fact.
I was gonna say we talk about that with every single case. That train right there ain't never late. You can always, unfortunately, bet on law enforcement dropping the ball when it comes to sharing information and joining together for the greater good versus, screw the FBI.
Mhm.
Who wants the state police involved? But
I
yeah,
mean,
that's a mess up. And the only person who loses in that the most is
yeah,
Miss Nancy. Is Miss
yeah.
Nancy.
So I'm learning as we get further and further into 15 minutes of murder
Yeah, I
that
mean,
there's always like a ball dropped somewhere along the line.
yeah, there
And
is
it is
a ball
and
drop.
it comes from that law enforcement infighting. And again, when I am critical of law enforcement, this is not me saying, F the police and all of that kind of stuff. This is me saying that I know how these investigations work, and almost every single time it boils down to that. So, when we as people at home watching the news, kind of even what we were talking about with David and what Harvey ended up talking about, anytime we are at home watching the news and we're like, what? Charges dropped. What? He was only sentenced to what? That is our reaction to it. And almost always it comes because of some kind of deficit, some kind of screw up along the way that law enforcement or the prosecutor has made. Because truth be told, as a private investigator or even a defense attorney, a whole lot of times our success only comes from how goofy the police are or how bumbling and ridiculous the prosecutor is.
I mean, this dude, the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, I think his name is. I don't know why. You know, like when you get a feeling about somebody, he was
Mm-hmm.
just so hostile. Like during the press conferences, I'm like, dude, like, what is your problem? And then like to know, like, okay, so you're like that big time, your little Pima County Sheriff's Department is like, we're gonna handle this. Meanwhile, we're like, how many days out, how many months out, and nothing on this
Mm-hmm.
woman?
Yeah, this is that is what happens all the time.
I mean, and
And
like,
it's that situation to where I hate to even say I told you so. Like I wish that I was wrong.
mhm,
I wish right now, in this moment, in this conversation, that Tanisha could tell me something and say, Nancy, they proved you wrong this time.
yeah.
They never do. They never do, and they never have. I,
I mean, it's unreal, unreal.
and 48 hours is a long time.
Yeah. I mean, they don't call it the first 48 for nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
I
that's when
mean, I
you're
mean,
chasing all the leads that are right there. They haven't had
well,
that much time to.
in the real world, is not first 48 hours. Da, 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 da. It's not really that in the real world.
No,
But
I mean time-wise.
that's what I mean too. In
Mhm,
time wise, 48 hours is a very long time.
mhm.
Um, just because, if nothing else, this evidence may have had to cross one side of the country to the other.
Yep.
So if it's coming from Arizona to Quantico, like you want to get that on the plane immediately, like
Mhm,
stat pronto, head to the airport, dump this in the plane, let's go.
mhm.
There are
But it's like,
services. There are services for that. You know, like to get it
yeah,
there super fast.
Super
yeah,
fast, yes. And think of it, even if, like, let's say that information was a heart patient's heart and
yeah.
they're on their way to get their transplant, their
I
kidney or
mean,
whatever.
technically it was because that was a woman's live beating heart who could still be alive right
Correct.
now, had people moved. And like the first 48, it's like that's a long time to
Mm-hmm.
not that's the first 2 days. We're saying 4 days they didn't have any involvement. Number one. And number two, it only takes about 4 hours to get out of sight.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like,
And in that remote
Yeah.
area, it may take even less.
yeah, yeah. On a straight road at that, like on a straight road. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. I am, you know, what I always say whenever we talking about Miss Nancy, I am angered. Yes, I am
mhm.
angered to know that. That is ridiculous. And again, I wish it was a matter of these folks proving me wrong, but the sad part is they have not, and I do not have enough faith in them that they will.
I mean, at the very least, at this point, I'm just, hope for answers because anything else would be short of a miracle,
Mhm.
which crazier things have happened, but
Look at our last
Wow.
case. 40 years later,
hmm
they figure out the
Mm.
person's name.
yeah. I mean, I am even going as far as the craziest thing of like, her still being with us, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Elizabeth Smart, you know, that who knew she was gonna come back? Who knew she would still be alive months after her disappearance or being taken rather.
Mhm.
So what you got, Craig?
I'm so
Um,
upset. I'm almost speechless. Because I am sitting here thinking, like, can you imagine being Savannah or anyone else who loves Miss Nancy and then you hear
Mm,
officially, because I'm sure you're sitting at home or wherever you all are gathered thinking, oh wow, the cops are really messing this up. But to hear
yeah.
confirmation of that, to actually hear that that is in fact what's happening, gives it a whole nother level. And like I said, I am just sitting here stunned and speechless because you saying that right now in this moment, T, is the first time that I have heard that.
Hmm. Hmm. It's kind of crazy. I mean, and this isn't just like, down the pipe. This is like the FBI director saying, we didn't even get wind of this case. But then I don't know how it works. But so pretty much day one, we all knew, right?
Right, but you don't just jump in. There's
Right.
jurisdiction. You have to
But
be invited into that.
that's crazy to me that it's like the FBI is a vampire and they can't help unless you invite them in.
Correct. But again, that's what we always say. So now, you know, if we don't have that in place, then are they going to, is the FBI, is the federal government going to
Oh,
hop
right.
in when
Just try
I
and take
get,
care of everything.
yeah, or if I get a jaywalking ticket, are they going to say, well, let's grab hold of that and drag this into federal court? Like we have to have these checks and balances there. So no, I do not want the federal government at any level just to hop in like that. But
Yeah.
what I do want is law enforcement at the local level to be wise enough, smart
Mhm.
enough, and mature enough
Mhm.
to say, hey, feds,
Yeah.
we need, hey, big bro, hey, dad, we need you. We can't do this by ourselves this time.
It's funny because you're always like, I always laugh because you're like, that don't happen in real life, T. Like, that's the movie. So, like, you always have this, like, thing in your head that, like, here comes the small town cop and the sheriff in his car, and then boom, the FBI kicks in the door. And it's like, it's our case now, but it doesn't quite work like that, obviously.
Um, so it can, but it takes a whole lot for that to happen.
Hmm. You
So,
would think on Nancy Guthrie it might have.
no.
A nationwide, like every news channel, everybody's
Mm-mm.
watching this cop fumble.
No, because that is the one incident. That is the one
Mhm.
thing. It would have to have been like a string of
Mhm.
of, of instances. So say like here in Detroit, in the last, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years, if that long, um, the Detroit Police Department was under federal oversight, which means that the
Oh,
Detroit
okay.
Police Department was able to operate accordingly as the Detroit Police Department, but the feds were always right
Mhm.
above looking and making sure that, y'all doing what y'all supposed to be doing. And that oversight came from years of
Uh,
police just, doing whatever they want to do.
mhm.
Um, kind of like the reason why the first 48 isn't allowed to film in the city of Detroit. Um,
Yeah, that
all,
that big
all of those
misconception.
type things is where
What do you
it
mean?
has. What you say, Craig?
What do you mean they're not allowed to film there?
Oh, Craig. So we could follow up with that on our
Okay.
next live. So
Okay. Okay.
That's a big
so
one.
I didn't
so
know that.
Join
so
us next week when Des breaks down why the
so
first
we'll
48
go into that
cannot
in
film in
detail.
Detroit.
I can't think of this little girl's name right now, but she was just the prettiest little chocolate baby. And the first 48 was filming in Detroit. And they came into her home where she was sleeping on the living room couch. They had a warrant looking for her dad, but and so I would imagine in other places we have sometimes in the Detroit area what we call family flats, and it'll be a really big house, but it may be broken down into 2 units. So it'll be a really big house, but it's actually two apartments in
Hmm.
this house. It's
Yeah.
upstairs and downstairs. Okay. So they went to the wrong door of the flat. And when they busted into the door, and sometimes families share that. So say Alex and I may be in unit 1 and then our kids are in unit 2. So they went into the unit where the little girl was with her grandmother. Commotion ensues. Oh God, the police, however it would go. And the police ended up shooting and killing this child as the first 48 was filming.
Oh my God.
So they caught it on film.
It was on film, yes. And so producers of First 48 had to participate in the trial. I believe they were called to testify and all of that stuff. The cop, he was on trial for some level of murder. This was a very long time ago. Like I said, if we can go into it and talk about it in more detail, give me a moment
Yeah.
to refreshen up on it. But yeah, that kind of stuff we're
Mm.
talking about when it is some oversight. Like Detroit has a horrible history of police misconduct. Um, Most of it comes from because Detroit has been a city in flux for so long. And so, what the politicians have wanted to do was clean things up and make the city look, like we're tough on crime and we're cleaning this up. But with that comes the overzealousness of politicians giving police officers that green light to RoboCop your way through it type deal. Um, and it's that kind of stuff that has led to the oversight. Is that kind of stuff that makes actually my caseload a lot heavier than it needs to be because a lot of those people are in prison and they are seeking relief from their convictions and their sentences. So that leaves me in a position to where on a regular basis, I am out here actually knocking on doors and at the homes of these older, sometimes now retired, corrupt
Oh,
homicide detectives or just, police
wow.
sergeants in general, talking to them, trying to, you know, ma'am, sir, you messed this up. I remember one time I was knocking on a retired homicide detective's door and she was like, well, what are you here for? And I said the client and told her the client's name. Like he says, you effed up his investigation and he's in prison and he sent me here to talk to you about that. Um, so it's a real thing, and it has been for a very long time here in Detroit. And so much so that's one of the reasons why I get those cases because they're like, oh, call Des. She's already gone after, you know, homicide detective so and so or police sergeant Big Bird. Like she already knows where they stay or she already has their contact information. But yeah, it's that police oversight
The
it's
world. It's crazy.
I can't wait to talk more in detail about it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ian chimed in and said, Des said there's not enough time in the night for that one. LOL. He was just laughing about what you
About the
said.
first 48.
Yeah, yeah, when you said
It's
that.
Yeah,
surprising to me that they can even that they were even allowed to continue the show, period, with something like that.
Yeah.
well, and it's not so much that it's not enough time, it is that it has been so long, kind of like with Scott Peterson,
Hmm.
where give me a moment and let me, because as of right now, I can't even recall uh this baby girl's name. Like if Craig right now, if you were to Google first 48 in Detroit, it might pop up and you could tell me this young girl's name. Um, but it was like, what do they call that? A lightning rod type thing where it was very um polarizing in the city, even in the state. It was a mess.
Um,
I want to say Aiyana was her name.
w was it any fault of the first 48 though being there
There
or
was no fault of no, I don't believe there was any fault of the first 48. It
her
was
her name was
uh
Yeah.
Aiyana
Aiyana. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Stanley-Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Aiyana. And yeah, officer. They came in the house and started shooting, and they shot and killed her.
That's crazy because I know that, like, that is how you're describing the setup of the house. Like in Brooklyn, you have a brownstone. Top floor is two apartments, middle floor is one big apartment, and the basement is another apartment. And sometimes families will buy them,
Mm-hmm.
rent out the basement to like me, and then the family lives on the second, third floors.
Mm-hmm.
So, like unless you know that, you wouldn't know which place to go into.
Correct. Right. And
You
sometimes
may not want to
because
just start shooting.
Yeah.
right, right, T. And sometimes if that is a family unit, the doors or of the home may not be as clearly labeled because this is a family unit, right? But if
Mhm.
it's me and a stranger, our doors and our addresses may be clearly labeled as unit one for this door, unit two for this door, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't believe it was labeled like that. But even if it was, as I think I just heard T mumble, that doesn't matter because you just don't go into a home and just shoot it up and there's a sleeping child on the sofa.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
Oh, that poor
Yeah.
family.
So what was we talking about?
that was it. I was just curious. I was curious. I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about it. So I think you were just giving me
Yeah.
the overview of like what happened.
Yeah. And so
Hmm.
it's generally not just one incident that causes um the federal oversight or the FBI to come in. It is generally a long string of things. And in fact, I'm almost certain that Detroit Police Department was already under federal oversight
I
when
can't even imagine
Aiyana.
what that did.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
What else
Um,
is going on, y'all?
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
were
it
we,
the law enforcement here in Michigan, like it's that's there are some cities where maybe the federal government hasn't come in and taken over, but say the county sheriff has, maybe the state police have, like it's really like that here. So when I am doing my criminal investigation work and it's like, whoa, how are you defending these bad guys? Like, no, I am really working cases where some of this stuff may be rogue officers
Mm.
um doing some pretty bad things.
things that most people would think is only on television, right?
Yes, I have interviewed homicide detectives and they have flat out told me like, yeah, I got orders to conduct this interview in this certain way. I've gotten orders to run the time back on this person's constitutional rights checklist because when you're questioned by the police, you know, okay, rights number one, right number two, and you run down that list and you're supposed to like date and time that. So I've talked to these homicide detectives and say, yeah, they wanted me to change the time on that sheet to make it look as if that person was interviewed at a different time to kind of say we read him their rights when we may not have type stuff. Like,
Like Miranda rights. Is that what that's
correct, your
called? Yeah.
Miranda rights.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to be given the option to say, I need a lawyer. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. Yep.
And if they're asking you questions before they've told you that, I imagine it's a big problem.
It is a huge problem. It is a huge problem. So yeah, that is it. And again, that is stuff that people don't believe happened just because why would we? Like we live in a society where we are essentially conditioned and taught from a very young age that the police are it. If the police have contacted you and you haven't done what the police say, like that is ultimate authority. And the truth is oftentimes extremely far from that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm. So, what else is going on in this news cycle?
Well, Craig
Um,
and I were jabbing about this FedEx man.
yeah, I think the reason he's in the news right now, I think what he did happened in 2022, but
Oh,
he was sentenced yesterday to death. So that's why it's back in the news cycle.
where is he from? Where's this story from?
Happened in rural Texas, a town in rural
Oh,
Texas. Um,
dang.
so I can kind of give a brief overview.
I don't know. The only thing I knew was that plane in New Jersey that clipped that truck. That's all I heard of. I don't even know what this FedEx story
Oh
is you're talking
no,
about.
Oh, Craig,
this
set it up.
okay. So there was a FedEx driver. His name. Um,
Wait, I think I.
it was in Fort Worth, Texas, in a courtroom in Fort Worth, Texas. The driver's name is Tanner Horner, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a FedEx driver, delivering packages. On Christmas, it was either Christmas Eve, I think, or Christmas Day. He was delivering a package to a home. It was actually the gift for this little girl. I think they said they had got her what she wanted for Christmas, like a Barbie set or something. She was like a
It
7 year
was,
old.
to be specific, T, because I'm looking at your face. This gift that he was dropping off was a set of you could be anything Barbies.
Yeah, which makes it even like more devastating. He ended up getting her onto his FedEx truck and kidnapping this girl
The little
and
girl?
the little
How old was the little
girl,
girl?
huh?
How old was she?
7. And he ended up killing her. And it was so when I was reading about it, they were talking about the video from within the FedEx truck. And I saw some images of it. I didn't watch any of it. I didn't really want to, but they have like the first 20 minutes of it on
Oh my God.
his interior truck, and she's asking him, "Are you a bad guy? Are you kidnapping me? Like, are you like my mom says I can't do that, things like that." And then after, I think it was like 20 minutes, he covered the camera, but the audio was still running. So there's an additional hour of audio
Oh my God.
of this girl screaming and crying and while he's doing whatever it is he did with her.
So I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, like, how did he get a 7-year-old out of a house? Like 7-year-olds don't
Maybe she
typically
was
answer doors or receive packages. So what was the situation?
I'm not sure. I didn't read enough on it, but I mean, my thought is maybe she was outside playing or something. I don't
A
know.
7-year-old?
If they're in rural
Yeah, she was
Texas,
outside. And it's Texas, so it could have been Christmas Day and it would have been warm enough for her to be outside.
yeah. And they lived like in the middle of nowhere. So like who's there to
Correct.
really, you know,
And
Ah,
and
7-year-olds.
who doesn't trust a FedEx driver? You don't think a
well,
FedEx driver is gonna
but not only that, so what Craig is saying about them living in, like, in this, the town that they were living in is called Paradise.
I don't care if you lived in a place
So
called
you can,
home.
so what I'm saying is that you can't make this up. This little baby is outside her home in Paradise, Texas, awaiting Christmas packages that includes a set of you could be anything Barbies, and Mr. FedEx Creep Man picked this baby up and did some of the most ungodly things to her. This is one of the things that they said. Her name is Athena. This is the baby's name, Athena. They say they found her DNA in places you shouldn't find DNA on a 7-year-old girl.
This is a FedEx worker,
of
A
FedEx
FedEx
worker.
worker,
person who
Tanisha
passed
Slater.
background checks and supposed to be safe, delivering your packages, and is out here snatching children. Does he have a did he have a record?
Well, I would think that he did, because at this point, now, because he has been found guilty and the trial is over, you go into the mitigation portion of the case. And as part of the mitigation portion of the case, they say this, that his that he was autistic. They throw that out there.
Mm.
That he suffered
Yes.
from various mental illnesses throughout his life, in addition to being exposed to a massive amount of lead. So I don't know if those things would necessarily give you a criminal record. However, those things would lead to different kinds of contact that may pop up in your background or
Right.
pre-employment screening, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so I am not saying that if you're autistic or you suffer from the continued effects of fetal alcohol syndrome and things like that, that you are automatically going
Right.
to have a criminal record.
Because there's
But
plenty of
there
people
may
who have
be
those
some
things
things.
that don't do any of that, like take a child.
Correct. Absolutely. But if you are the person who has those things who then go on to kidnap Athena in your FedEx truck, then you then, sir, probably have some things in your background that would indicate that you have the potential to do this.
I'm curious if any of our viewers heard this.
Kirsten just chimed in. She said this is the case that she mentioned to us last week.
Oh,
Hmm.
is
And
it?
she said it's horrifying. His sentencing was chilling. He had no reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. Like
I
what?
mean, that makes sense to me because react to what is he going to react to? And why will he react to it? Is he going to react to because, oh man, I didn't do this? Or, oh, I'm shocked that they decided to give me life in prison? Or, oh, I'm surprised they decided to give me the death
Yes.
penalty? Like, what would he be reacting to?
But I mean, what if you don't have a criminal background? I mean, we're not gonna start soft by robbing a liquor store. We're just gonna go right and snatching children off of their front lawns. First time, like I don't understand the sequence of that.
That's correct. That is what I mean by when I say if this is something that you would do, there is probably something in your background that will indicate that maybe FedEx should not be hiring you to step on to the front porch of people's homes.
Mm. This happened in 22, you said?
22 is when the actual
Wow.
crime
And and
happened.
and 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 back to what Craig was saying with her being outside, her stepmom, um, mm, says that Athena loved to run free on their family's land. So she was on her property doing what she loved to do. What
That's what
she
I'm
loved to
saying.
do.
Like I'm not saying like let your 7-year-old run around by themselves, but maybe they lived in the middle of nowhere enough. Like she's off running, the mom is taking care of, I don't know,
Not exactly.
the animals on the farm at the same time. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not
No,
sure.
it makes sense to me
It don't
that
make
that
sense to me.
that she would be outside alone at 7 years old, and this is where they live. Because again, like I was saying before when we were talking about Texas, Texas is really like that. Like you have this large parcel of land and it's fenced in, and he maybe the gate was only open that day at that time because they were expecting this delivery. But whatever the case may be, this baby was outside. She was just outside on her property, on her front porch, or wherever she was.
And probably
And then,
excited to see the FedEx guy if she knew what he was bringing,
yeah.
I have a
But what
problem
T,
with that.
but I think what T is getting at is the point that I made on a few Ask a PIs ago, is why is the kids answering the doors, and why
Yeah.
is the kids outside, and
If
all
you're
of those
if you're
things.
expecting a parcel and you have anybody coming to deliver it, one, if he's not your regular mailman, you don't know him. Two, if you know it's coming, which most people know that their FedExes are coming, you get notifications, you get emails, it's coming today between such and such and such and such. I'm not letting my 7-year-old run to this accept anything. And if my 7-year-old wants to run free on a 40-acre lot, my eyes are going to know where you are on this 40-acre lot at all times. Like, I don't understand when people, I don't care if you live in paradise on the farm in the middle of nowhere with nobody. Not even the cow is going to trample my child in a freak accident for a cow getting loose. I don't care. It is weird to me that a 7-year-old is unattended and able to take a package and get snatched by FedEx. That's weird
Right.
to me. At 7, we're not talking about 10 years old or 13 years old. I mean, I could get that, but a 7-year-old with no eyes on them,
Hmm. Yeah, that's what happened. And then, just at a
just
personal
my
human.
opinion. I'm allowed to have one.
No, and you are, and that's why I said I feel like your point is more to my point when I was talking about on Ask a PI, with people allowing their children to be out front,
Mhm.
and answering doors and things like that. But the grief of this family,
I can't
um,
imagine that.
you can't imagine what.
The grief of the family.
Oh, right. But what I was going to say is the grief of this family continues because the stepmom and Athena's dad, they ended up getting a divorce.
Over what happened.
Who knows? I don't know what over.
Mhm.
I it could be over a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe it could be stepmom maybe feeling like you're feeling, T. Maybe stepmom's maternal instinct was, dad, I told you you shouldn't have been letting this baby roam about. And then now that causes conflict with them.
Mhm.
Who knows? But I would probably be willing to bet, even though I don't know any of these people, that what happened to Athena played a role in that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's got to bring a ton of stress into the family, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Does she have siblings?
I don't know. Have
I, you
you
know,
heard about that?
I no, I don't. Kirsten did chime in and said that when this guy was arrested, he had the nerve to ask the judge if he could be released for a few days to spend Christmas with his family. One last Christmas with his family.
oh, my goodness. I don't even understand. Like, who does he think is going to have sympathy for that?
Yeah, when you
What
just,
Crazy.
makes you think your family even wants to spend time with you after you do something like that? Now, I don't know. Maybe they did, but I'm gonna tell you right now, anybody I know, you want to do something like that, I don't have anything to say to you. You can
Yeah.
fly.
And I don't know if Craig said this, but um allegedly he's on the truck's audio recording telling her, well, leaning down, telling her, don't scream or I'll hurt you.
hmm yeah, everything he said to her and did to her was audio recorded after that initial time when the camera he hadn't covered up the camera yet. Everything after he covered from when he covered up the camera was all audio recorded.
So now, like this, just like in the case with Koberger, Where he
What's
hasn't,
that?
oh, the Idaho 4,
Okay, okay.
he hasn't said anything like why or what or anything, and he's entitled to keep quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, I guess, is entitled to keep quiet where you have like, why would you do that? What is your reason? Was
So
she
for me,
choose her or was it random? Like,
well, this is what I think. I think that he had been planning this for some level of time because he says he didn't want her to tell her father what happened. So he first tried to break her neck, and then when that didn't work, he strangled her. So for him to say, I didn't want her to tell her father, that is very specific, as if to say, number one, he knew there was a father. Number two, it indicates to me that he has probably seen them interact and maybe seen that her dad was a loving and caring and protective daughter, protective father, and stuff like that. So I definitely don't think, just off of that statement alone, that this was just something random and he decided to do that day in that moment.
that is a like a monster.
Hmm. And if in my head, I keep going back to the audacity of that, because as we were talking about before we started filming, he would know that that truck has audio and video
Yeah.
inside of it. And he still, knowing that, said, let me snatch up this child and cause all kinds of unspeakable harm to her. Like, those delivery trucks can tell when you have ran a stop sign.
Hmm.
Those delivery trucks know if you're going 2 to 3 miles over the speed limit. So they sure in the blankety blank McBlank blank blank know if you didn't kidnap somebody's baby. And he said, who cares? I'm gonna throw her in the truck and duck her behind the driver's seat of the truck, and put my DNA where someone will think I deserve to be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the still images of her, like of him driving and her standing in that space, where they jump up and run in the back to get a package. You can
Hmm.
see her standing there while he's driving. And the images. I didn't want to watch the video. I think Kirsten watched the video.
She had three.
Um, because she's talking, some details about some of the things he was
I
doing
mean, listen,
while she was crying.
the as much as T is frowning her face up in disgust and all of this information that I am talking about is information that I have just from the one article that I clicked on. I don't
Mhm.
know about any images or any videos or anything. So I I, I don't even want to know as much as Craig knows.
I mean, and that I don't I don't want to make it political, but I'm going to.
Go ahead.
I don't
Go for it,
understand.
sis.
I don't understand how certain people in certain reports can be protected, names redacted. But you can go and find out the details of what happened to this little 7-year-old girl on a camera in a FedEx truck because somehow it's released and swimming on the internet when there's sisters and parents who have lost a child and have to listen to these details that people are getting. But yet, people who harm people can get their names redacted so that their entities can be protected, so that they can be protected when they've done foul things to children.
Mhm.
I shouldn't. Maybe we should
You're
record
not
some of
wrong.
this.
You're not wrong at all. That's
Mhm.
absolutely correct. Yes.
This is a this is
And so much so, in real talk, to you, so much so that I often tell people that I think that whole scare kids straight and all that kind of stuff. I think that's focusing on the wrong thing. I think
Yeah.
what people need to really be seeing is autopsy photos. I think people really need to see um how human dignity is stripped of them. How just what you're saying right now, how all of us, and I mean the public, when I say all of us, how we can see these images of this baby. And even though she may be alive, we know what ends up happening to her.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of stuff I think the public should be more aware of what does this look, what is the after carnage of what you have done? What look what when you shot outside that vehicle as you were trying to do this drive-by for whatever reason you were doing it. Look what that bullet did to these people,
Mhm.
to their bodies. Look at how it ripped them up. Look at how their family is responding as they are standing there looking through the window at the medical examiner's office, identifying that body.
But
The
then if you don't
people,
have any reaction to that, then you can go under the jail.
well,
That's where you can live.
and
Yeah.
that's oftentimes where where they find themselves.
Kirsten did say she didn't watch the video or hear the audio. These were just in reports that she read in newspapers,
Hmm.
maybe from reporters who were actually in the
But that's still insane that
yeah.
this information is out there. And what's insane to me is that when I asked if she had siblings, right? Like this, it's just crazy. And it's like, oh yeah, she had three siblings. Their names are blah 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 and blah 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 blah. Um, is there no protection for children or even like siblings or family members? Like it's
And
hard.
see, and so there typically is, and that is what I always talk about when I am talking against how these stories get sensationalized in the media. So
Mhm.
if this was just a case that I was working that didn't have any media attention, then yep, those names, all of the stuff that you're talking about right now, T, would probably be in place that you would not know um the other children's name, or you would not have access to those photographs and things like that. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like I don't know what I sent to y'all recently. Oh, I think it was the case of that guy here in Michigan who shot and killed that police officer. And Craig was like, how do these people get the cameras in the courtroom? Well, the cameras were in the courtroom because the judge allowed that.
Just to answer your question, it looks like she had three sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
So
don't
two
think
biological and two stepsisters.
and it kind of goes hand in hand, like, people, we talk about it here all the time. You want that media attention and you want the media to be alerted to that, but all this other stuff comes with that. All of the other stuff
Mhm.
comes with it. And that is why I am typically saying, maybe not so much on the media.
Yeah, you've always been very like keep it, let the professionals.
Yeah. Because it turns into something else. It becomes I won't say less about the law and justice, but it definitely becomes about theatrics and ratings and all of that stuff, and who can report this in the most gruesome, ratings grabbing kind of way. And if my news network is going to release pictures and names of children, guess whose network is going to soar in the ratings for this news cycle? Is going to be mine. No one is going to want to hear your boring, safe reporting where you're trying to protect the privacy of children and families. No one's going to want to hear that mess, T. You're out of business.
Yeah. It's just
Hmm.
wow. Does he did I suppose he doesn't have any children?
Well, maybe that's why he wanted to spend Christmas with everyone. But like you said, who want to sit and carving into Christmas hams or whatever we eat
Carving
with
his
you?
face.
There was there's always that saying in the media, and I think it's probably a pretty dated saying, but if it bleeds, it leads.
Hmm.
And
It's such
there's actually a Jake Gyllenhaal movie called
oh
Nightcrawler that was about
Yeah,
yeah,
that.
Nightcrawler
yeah,
was insane. And when I tell
yeah.
you that's the life. That movie is true.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
As
And
crazy as it look, as
yeah.
crazy as it was, you've got people out there heartless. I probably wouldn't be shocked if somebody tampered with a scene to
Yeah.
a little bit
And
more
and and
consistency
and
in it.
about this FedEx guy, before we move on to that, the one of the things that I kind of smirked and chuckled and gave a imaginary high five to the prosecutor is that they moved his venue. They allowed him to move his venue, so he was so. And when you get a change in venue, that kind of helps make sure that you move from this location to this location, and maybe you will have a fairer jury pool and all of that kind of stuff. And the reason why that excited me and gave made me do that imaginary high five to them is now that he has a conviction and the jury is going to give him his sentence. Now what? What is your complaint now? Tell me what is not fair at this point. Where do
Here,
you now go with your appeal at this point?
Kirsten chimed in again and said that he does have a son.
He does have a son.
That's what Kirsten said. I haven't checked it. I haven't checked it
Um,
yet, but that's
now,
what Kirsten said.
let me ask a personal question. This man did this to your child, and justice gets served, and he gets the death penalty, and he gets to be mum's the word. Do you want to see him be put to the death penalty, or do you want to see him under watch surveillance at all times and live as long as he possibly can till he is remorseful to talk and say why he did this to your child?
So you said on a personal level, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so let me talk about this on a personal level, right? So my uncle, the man, as a baby that my grandmother adopted when he was several months old, he went on to unalive my grandmother and stab her numerous times and left her bleeding on her living room floor in her home as he came and went in about her home as he saw fit. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to life. He sits in many of the same prisons that I visit on a regular basis in my work. He has been housed in many of the prisons where my clients work. Like many of my clients may know my uncle. Um, and on a personal note, at this point, because this happened in 2001, so while the world was dealing with the trauma and the crisis of 9/11, this happened to my grandmother on September 7th. So while the world was dealing with that, I was dealing with this. And so I have to tell you, at this point, I don't care. I I I I I don't care because where do you go? Because again, we're talking about personal, right? For him on a personal level, where do you get to go? Where do you get to rest your head that is safe for you from your own head, heart, and soul, where you can rest peacefully knowing that you did this to your mother? Like, so as far as concerned, where you going? You not finna get no escape.
Mm-mm.
That's heavy.
And so for me, again,
Do you
You can
feel
let
like you do
let
you
him out.
feel like you have the appropriate answers you need
I don't.
from
So
him?
when you say about people and they don't tell you what happened or whatever, I don't know what happened. I still to this day, and I have written him letters and I have sent him emails over the JPay system, and he has not responded to this day. We do not know why he did that to my grandmother, who is his mother. We to this day, I do not know.
It's been a
I
long time too.
Hmm. To this day, I do not know. I don't. He ain't said to me, niece. I'm sorry, I was bugging out. I was on that stuff. I got a bad, dose, and I was high. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing.
You don't have the desire to understand why.
Well, that's what I just said. I've tried to contact him, and he has never responded.
I don't understand how court systems, I mean, I know we are in a country where we don't torture people for answers,
Hmm.
and you're allowed to have your silence, but why people who do that don't go through the kind of therapy, constant sessions to be able to get these answers, why they're just allowed to be. And if you're on good behavior, you can be peacefully and you can live peacefully with whatever it is in your head that, because if you're in a regular jail, then that's telling me that you are competent enough to be there and not in a mental institution for any
Hmm.
other reason. So there is a reason.
Hmm.
There's a sane reason for what you did then.
Yeah, I mean it was a full out battle. So when I am doing my work, I think this is what makes me so effective in my work is because I have been on both sides of this. So while we were going through this with my uncle and my grandmother, I had to battle with the prosecutor because the prosecutor was like, "Oh, we just gonna charge him with second-degree murder." No, you're not. That's first degree premeditated all day. You're going to charge that. You're going to take that to trial, and you're going to let the jury decide if this man who stabbed his mother 10 times in her home, left her to bleed out, if let them decide if that was first degree murder or not. So it was a whole battle. I had to deal with law enforcement agents, flirting with my god sisters at this like it. All of these things that we talk about is what I encountered. I had to deal with them coming into my grandmother's home, and instead of them focusing on the crime scene itself, they wanted to talk about the condition of her home and, oh, she didn't clean up, or oh, what? Or, oh, this is just how these people live. What? So when I am talking the talk that I'm talking to y'all, I am talking from not just some stuff that I get up out here and pay my bills on, but stuff that I have lived, watched, and felt. When they put my grandmother's pictures up on that screen in that courtroom, I had to leave. So when you talk about the impact of seeing those things, I know I had to leave. When you're in that courtroom and that jury comes down and they say you can't show any emotions or anything, I had to sit there.
That's why I it's hard for me to um stand behind the justice system because I feel like families suffer through these
Mhm,
trials. Um, while the defendant gets to sit there and be quiet and not have to say
mhm,
a word,
yeah,
while he has rights, but you can't
Yep.
read, while
Mm-hmm.
he gets to be housed and fed 3 times a day, but you still have to be on the outside and work and
Mm-hmm.
pay your bills. But
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna pay for you to be comfortable, um, and have your rights. But then you still don't have answers. So while
Yep.
I say it all the time, justice is justice, but justice is not truth.
Mm-hmm. Because at his trial, his attorneys, they didn't even put on a defense. So that means there were no witnesses. So when I tell you we have nothing, we have nothing.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I am sorry that that has to be your existence and to have those memories and the thoughts and for that to have happened to your grandmother. I don't even know how I
Thank you, T.
can't barely get through this. Because to have to experience that on top of what our world was going through,
Mm-hmm.
on top of our daily everyday without either of those things.
I had also just had a baby. My son was born in June.
I'm gonna try not be so angry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna try not be so
Yes.
angry.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, that is what I mean by we're focused when we're talking about crime and coming down on crime, we're focusing on the wrong things.
Mhm.
We're focused on the wrong. This stuff takes a human toll.
Yeah.
And we're talking about media over here and
Mhm.
sensationalism over there. Look at what this stuff does to people. And
Yeah.
that is what I mean when I say, and when I talk to clients, or even when I talk to victims, I can talk to my victims from a place of victim to victim.
Yeah.
Although I may be encountering you because my job as a criminal defense investigator is what brought me here, but that feeling and that emotion, and when y'all hear me say a gazillion times over, I am real, and I share with the people I encounter what I have endured, all of that stuff, to let them know when you're talking to me, this is a safe place. You're talking to someone who has literally, not just some euphemism, not just some, let me talk my talk and say what I have to say. No, you're sitting with someone who has literally walked in your shoes. I know what this is.
So do you feel that experiencing that kind of pushed you into this direction? Because I know you wanted to be in social services and did this like
Well,
push you more to want to be kind of like out there the way you are?
right. So it may have, because by the time this all of this stuff happened to me, so this stuff happened to me in 2001. I didn't start working at Sunshine Investigations until like 2014. So the woman who found me, she found me speaking about uh, I forget what the meeting was or whatever, but the person who she encountered when she saw me speaking was someone who she said, "Oh, this person would do good in this role." And that person she encountered was the evolved Des, the Des who had said, "I'm not finna let this pain and this hurt linger and keep me down. I am going to go back to school. I am going to figure out some stuff to do with my life." So it's very possible that that Dares is what brought this Dares, if that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah, because man, I was so I was an angry person. I had, but even before this, and when my grandmother died, one of the things that my mother and even Alex used to always be concerned about with me was um who's going to keep Des calm and sane now. And that's who my grandmother was for me. So I had to harness all of this and
Hmm.
keep that together. So I guess the answer to your question probably is T, yes, this that probably greatly impacted who and what I am and what I do today.
Hmm.
Because truth of the matter is many of I have worked on projects with his defense attorney. Like I work with his defense attorney's law firm. Like right now, I have two cases out of his defense attorney's law firm.
Wow. I have got to say, and the only other thing
Hmm.
that I could even possibly say in this moment, because I mean, as you say, where do you put these things? The only thing I can say is that I am proud of you and I am blown away by the person that you are. And I am thankful that I am in your space. And I love you.
I love you,
That's all.
but you're not gonna make me cry.
That's all. That's not what this
You're
is.
not gonna make me
Because
cry.
now I'm
But
sweating because
yes,
I'm mad.
so yes, when you say at a personal level, let's talk about it. Yes, at a personal level. Yep.
I
There there are people that come together for a reason, and we've come together to do this show because we each are passionate about this for our own individual reasons. And that's why we appreciate every single person who likes and comments on our videos. Because when I get emotional, I can't really help it. So I'm gonna push through. But every single case that we have covered in this
Hmm.
season one has really touched each one of us. And it's not just about us talking about the sensationalism of the case, but also who those people were,
Hmm.
because they were someone's love.
Hmm.
And we all deserve the presence to be here and do the things that we love and be able to tell the people that we love that we're proud of them. And when there's just evil in this world, that take a little baby girl like this FedEx
Yep.
man, and she doesn't have the chance to become something beautiful, or she doesn't even have the chance to be able to learn through her troubled life, if that's where she was headed, to
Yep.
take the opportunities from someone and taking the lives from someone. Like, you have to, I always think, like, good people watch this kind of stuff because they want to hear, oh, what happened, but best believe that there's somebody watching this stuff who intends to do harm to someone, who has bad thoughts, and they're watching this stuff to see like what
Hmm.
they can get away with and what they can do.
Hmm.
So to those people, I say think before you do anything, like taking someone's life,
And
whether
and and
it's
and
someone else or your own. Think about
and
fine.
and and you're absolutely correct because this story with Athena, there is some weird creep person who is hearing this story. And when we're talking about these pictures, and Craig is talking about her being in this truck,
They're
someone
listening.
somewhere is getting off on that.
Yeah.
Let's just be a whole buck about it. There is someone who this story that we just talked about is fantasizing all kind of weird freak creep ideas about this baby. Someone, while the media is telling this story, some
Yeah.
of us are tapped in because we are concerned and we're like, wow, how dare you? Where other people are tapped in and it's like, oh my God, this is a complete wet dream
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
that makes me think too, because as we sit and talk about these cases, we are part of the media.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, what I think and what I hear, especially with 15 Minutes of Murder, is I love the type of coverage that we very quickly grew into putting out there with 15 Minutes of Murder. It's very different. We're not sensationalizing. We're not just retelling a story, but
Mm-mm.
I feel like there are like real life moments here, obviously, that we're putting behind all of this.
Right. And we are, when we are doing our coverage, right, we get to say things like, if y'all remember when we were talking about David, and I kept saying, and we even have a short of me saying, let me tell you, and I am standing 10 toes on it, that that man was her rapist from the moment he saw her or encountered her until he did whatever he did to her. That is where I think, continue what Craig is saying, what we do with our content. We don't just tell, our viewers and our audience, some sensationalized stuff. We're like, nah, that's effed up, bro. Like what?
I mean, I feel
That's
like this kind of stuff is more like we just sat here together and learned together about this FedEx case. This is more of like, what do you know? What do you know? This is a conversational, not sensational. So it's like you're, just the reacting in real time and like understanding that like you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to have, oh, I don't know, they had three siblings, or you can look these things up in real time, and that's what our Wednesday lives are. I mean, we're not coming to you with this full, report of this is X, Y, and Z, and then this. And, we can do that because this is 15 Minutes of Murder and this is our show. We're not a news station, you know. We're
mhm.
trying to build into something where we can hopefully shed light on kind of the industry and tell things in a different way. And we just appreciate the people who are
Mhm.
on board with that.
Um,
Yeah.
if you guys want one last viewer opinion,
What we
or,
got?
or say, um, uh, Kirsten said, thank you for sharing, Des. It says a lot. You turned your pain into purpose, and it explains why you are passionate about everything that you do.
Correct. And that is why I can say, listen, y'all, I sit with my clients, and when I tell y'all I give them the business, I have had clients where I have cussed them out and told them, if I ever see your name on my workload or ever talk to somebody else again, I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna beat your and boom, 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 boom. Like I give them the blues. Do you hear me? I give it to them because you can't tell me about you coming from the hood. You can't tell me about some traumas that then happened to you and you can't overcome them. And I'm gonna tell y'all just on some real stuff. I can sit here and how we just held this discussion about my grandmama. I can sit here and tell you some stuff that I have been through that by the time I finish telling you about that, you would have forgotten what I just told you about my grandmother. So
Yeah.
no one can tell me, oh, I can't do this because what you mean? What you
And
mean?
that's the thing, you know, you you
Yeah.
never you never you never know who's watching you. And I always say if you have a testimony, tell it, because you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what battle someone who's listening to you is going through and
Mm-hmm.
how you might have just changed their life trajectory or their purpose or their mental thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Because
So
I'm telling,
thank you
listen,
for sharing.
I've never visited my grandmother's grave site one time, not since the day we laid her down. When I want to talk to my grandmama, or I feel close to my grandmama, I get in my car and I go and drive to her house and sit outside her house and I talk to my grandmama. Throw Dutch in the car. Dutch, we going to see Granny, right?
He's gonna come running in there now.
Right. But no, yeah, like these are things like I know what it's like. to look adversity in the face. I know what it's like to fight yourself, to get yourself in a better position. So yeah, nah, this work. And that is when I tell y'all, when I first started, I had to figure out, how does that social work desk go into this private investigation desk? And I said, this is going to be your brand. I don't know how nobody else does their private investigation work, but yours is coming from your place of experience. It is coming from your testimony, and you're going to apply that, and you're going to use that. And that is that in that 15 minutes of murder, when I say the real is real, like,
Mhm.
let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And we did this week, people. We gave
Right.
you a loaded episode. I think this is probably
Yeah.
the longest we've ran.
Yeah, this is like a special
Um,
edition. This is like the sit and
this is
listen to Dad's come around the campfire edition of
this
I
is the
Wednesday
end
Night Live.
of this is pretty much the final end of a Wednesday night live in season one's realm. So,
this is one I usually don't put these on our audio podcast, but I think this one is gonna go out on our audio podcast for sure.
with that, we thank you for coming on and listening live. And to those of you who are going to listen after, we thank you in advance. But we will be back next Wednesday. Well, we have some first 48 stuff to go over and whatever is going on in the news.
We got
But
to get to that Scott Peterson stuff
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
we'll
we
talk
didn't
about
get to
Scott
him.
next week as well. And if you're watching this after our live, please join us next Wednesday, live, and we would love to hear your comments and your thoughts and opinions on whatever it is we're talking about. We thank our viewers today. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Ian. And thank you everybody else tonight. And we will see you next Wednesday. Please like, subscribe, share, all the things. Wherever you like to listen to your favorite podcasts, that's where we are. You can find us there at 15 Minutes of Murder. And that's all I got. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'll co-sign all of that.
Yep.
Craigers?
Yep.
Yep.
Those are
Okay.
my short pointed words. Yep.
Stay tuned. We got more exciting things coming. 15 Minutes of Murder is growing. And have a good rest of your week. And we will see you next week.
Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
y'all. Good
See
night.
ya.